Okay, so welcome to our monthly third Thursday at 3 o'clock video chat on hot topics here on Hawaii Island. We bring you realtors from different parts of the island to tell you a little bit about what the market's going, and they're going to give you some insights in terms of what's happening. And then we also have our mortgage partners, the Wynn team, Marla and Scott, and they can answer questions about finances, and they're going to tell you a little bit about what's happening in the mortgage market. So we are going to start with Kona, and we usually have Lance kind of bring in the big guns on Kona, but today we have Delania, who has not yet joined us for these before. So Delania, if you want to start just a little bit in terms of what you're seeing in the market and maybe a little bit of insights, and then we can bounce from there. So Delania, go for it.
The market's crazy. It's the same thing everybody's seeing everywhere. Prices, Lance, you're seeing the same thing. Julie, you're seeing the same thing. It's just, I was looking today, there's a listing that came up in a neighborhood, and I looked back between 2016 and 2020, sales were like mid fours, mid fives, not a huge desirable neighborhood. A listing came up in there for $950 today. Another one at like $715, I think. I was like, what? I mean, over asking a little bit, highest price in the neighborhood a little bit, but to go double what it was 2 years ago is crazy. So, high prices and zero inventory. I'm sure you all have people contacting you, and I know you guys are reaching out to your realtors and saying, what's new, send me some listings so I can get a feel for the market. And it's like, here's two, so yeah, challenging, very, very challenging market.
Realtor meeting.
The what? Starting now?
Mm-hmm.
Dominic, I'm muting you. Okay. Okay. Oh, and then Jace here. So Lance, do you want to throw some stories in to kind of give us some flavor on the market? Lance Owens. Hi, Jay.
Hi.
Hey, thanks. Sorry. I guess I muted myself instead of unmute. We had a client call us today, and he says, this would have been my dream client a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, but it was, they were looking for 2-bedroom, even a 1-bedroom condo under $450,000. They got 50% down. They're ready to make the move. And, they wanted the list of them. And I said, well, with the criteria you wanted, I said, I got zero. I said, let me give you everything under 500,000 in Kona in a 1-bedroom condo, and there's 5. So it's heartbreaking to work with people and have nothing to show them anymore.
Yeah. So when you say 5, what's normal?
There should have been 40, 50.
40. Okay.
Yeah. There's 5.
There's 5. Okay. That's kind of the way it came when I first got to the island too. In 2005, we had exactly 3 things to look at, 3 or 4 things. So, yeah. And let's jump over to the other side of the island. Amber, what are you seeing in East Hawaii?
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of the same. I was hoping this month to report, a lot more listings coming on the market, but active listings are actually even down from when we talked at the same Zoom last month. So it's really competitive. I would say on a personal anecdotal note, I don't think we've ever written so many offers that haven't gotten accepted. We just had an offer this weekend. It was probably one of the strongest offers we've written in another market. It would have been a slam dunk for everybody, but there were 26 other offers on that property, and it ended up going for at least $50,000 over ask price. And this is East Hawaii market. So $50,000 over here is quite a bit higher. So even with, writing in really strong terms and an escalation clause and willing to go $1,000 over any other buyer, our buyer's offer still, couldn't beat out a cash offer that was willing to go really, really high. So there is a lot of that. And I'm just trying to prepare people for that kind of situation right now until we get some more inventory.
Yeah. Yeah. And Jana, are you able to chat yet? Janet's my Waikoloa friend over here. I don't know if she's able to do it. Okay, I don't think she's on there yet. So she's probably listening, but she can get on the video. And so when I've been talking to some of you guys about what's happening with the market too, I've been hearing these interesting these things you're bringing to the table to help people be able to compete in this market. Like, it's not just how much money you have. You also are asking them if, should we leave the furniture? We don't have to clean the house. Just, do whatever it takes. So no inspection, appraisal up to 100%, whatever. So are any of you guys actually winning in this game? Is there anything that you can suggest to these people that maybe is that one thing that the sellers actually look at a little bit more than everything else? Or is it basically, it's up to chance? What do you guys, what you guys see, what you guys suggest?
I know one thing that's helpful, and it can be challenging sometimes when the listing agent sets it so there's one review day. But the most recent financed offer we got accepted, we did go over asking, but we got the offer in first. We just got it in right away. And I think at that point they were kind of looking at offers as they came through. So ours came in early, it was strong, and they took it without fielding everything, which, was a benefit. So sometimes if you can get in that situation where you're not up against as many offers, you don't always have control over that, but that's helpful.
Good one.
I think the latest one that helped us was, everybody wants to see it first, and what was happening on some of these vacation rentals. By the time we got in there were several people sitting out there with offers that were just ready to hit send. And the minute they went in there, I went into a place at 10 and they said there was no offers. I went in at noon, and when I got back to the office by 3 to write an offer, it was contingent already. So it was, if you're advising clients now, if we're looking at a vacation rental and it's booked, the thing to do is let's look at all the old listings. Let's write the offer up, and we'll go in and look at it during our discovery period if it doesn't fit at that point. But that's the only way we're going to get it, because there's people who waited 2-3 weeks. This thing had been on the market and then had 5 offers in 5 hours. So wow. We would have been smart to present an offer earlier.
And so Eric's trying to get in here too. He wants to see what the story looks like for everybody. So one thing that's interesting about this market is the stories. So Lance, I love it. It's a good one to hear sometimes that we talk about, the interesting things that happen along the way. We know that sometimes the love letters are supposedly not supposed to be happening, but you saw an instance where a seller actually asked people to bring in letters to know more about who it was they're trying to buy their house. Yeah.
And we, again, we highly discourage that. Our brokerage doesn't really, they super highly discourage it. They don't forbid it, but they discourage it a lot. And the agent said the seller absolutely wanted a love letter, wanted to know who he was selling it to. And he was, he had a lot of money. He bought this home 20 years ago and just parked it. And it's never even lived in. A brand new 20-year-old home sitting there. So we had our clients write the love letter. Our offer was strong as can be. We even had $100,000 appraisal waiver on the offer. And we didn't get it. And I personally, like Delania said, the price itself was probably $100,000 overinflated, and we went $50,000 over the $100,000 inflated price, and didn't get it with all those, even with the love letter.
Yeah. Wow. So there you go. That's so basically the most competitive market you guys have ever seen. Would you all agree with that? Yeah. So, and Jay over there, Jay Berg, she bought her condo 5 months ago, and she's just sitting there happy as a little clam right now this year he bought. So you can just take it there. So if going forward, I've been hearing stories on the mainland that inventory is starting to come back in the market. Buyer fatigue is happening. People are pulling back. But on our island, you guys, would you agree that basically the demand is still higher than any inventory coming on the market? Yeah. So you guys don't even see any type of lessening of this crazy, right?
The numbers right now, at least that I'm looking at in front of me, show less active listings, not more, than last month, than this time last year. So, that could change. But right now, if that's, where the mainland real estate market is going, and that's what I've been reading. I have yet to see that locally. So
Yeah. Well, and hopefully sometimes they say, we lag a little bit behind the mainland. So maybe something better than what is happening is coming up. And then Lance did a blog post about the fact that you saw some statistics, Lance, that show that we're actually a negative land in terms of listings or
There's
something.
one of 2 states in the nation that have less inventory. 48 other states right now have got quite a bit increased inventory going on. And we in Hawaii are minus 3.4%. And the other one was either Connecticut or Vermont. I forget. It was a little state on the East Coast there, or a little state on the East Coast. And it was like minus 7%, but all other 48 states were up significantly.
Okay, so things are like increasing up in the upper 48. So again, we'll see, right? And then in terms of, I want to bring Marla and Scott into this discussion. What are you guys seeing in terms of what's happening in the mortgage market at this point?
Probably not a lot of changes since last month. I think both Scott and I want to encourage all of you, if you haven't yet purchased, which the majority of you have not, just do the best you can to get your financing in place, whether that's you have the cash and you know how you can easily access the cash, how you can submit the verification of funds, or if you're getting a loan, just making sure that you have all of that financing in place completely before you are seriously looking. Because as everyone has said, it's really difficult to get an offer accepted, even when you have all that stuff figured out. And then just don't get so discouraged that you give up, because some people are buying houses. So you might have to put in more offers. I know buyers are getting fatigued and a little demoralizing to look at a ton of properties, and for the agents to put in a bunch of offers too. It's exhausting for everyone, but don't give up.
There's my cheerleader, the housing cheerleader. And let's see. Okay, so do you guys want to open it up to seeing what the gallery has to ask you guys directly? If somebody, we've got about probably, wow, we've got like 17 people in the chat room. So obviously, if you guys also want, you can text, use the chat room text, and I can read the questions out to our panelists. But if you guys have a question right now that you want to ask, go ahead and unmute yourself and go ahead and pose the question to our wonderful group here. Anybody? Oh, you're all just sitting there with bated breath, waiting for good news to come through your little portals here, huh? Josh, come on, you must have a question. Come on, do it.
Josh has already got his ducks in a row. He doesn't have questions. Do you, Josh?
Yeah, he just has to get the house.
I don't have anything to say.
So you're just hanging too. You're just waiting for the right thing to show up at the right time, huh?
Absolutely. I think that's what, we're all doing. I don't know. Sarah and I keep looking on all the house sales sites and, keep getting stuff from Kyle, but just there's nothing that we're willing to jump on yet. Just waiting for that one to come on. So.
Yeah. I was touring some people looking to buy in the fall. They were looking for condos, and they're going, we don't want oceanfront. I'm like, okay, that gives you 2 complexes. so we were running around the Pines, and I said, you know what? You never know when all of a sudden you're the guy that sees people moving their stuff out of the garage, and you can walk up and say, hey, are you leaving? And then you get a chance to see that they're going to sell the house. And so he says he's going to drive around, when they're ready to buy a house, they're just going to drive around the neighborhoods looking for who's having garage sales, who's looking like they're moving out. I'm like, you know what? It's a strategy. So yeah. So, okay. So I'm trying to think, what else are we, the hot topic aspect of life? Realtors, are you seeing other things out there that you want to share with this group of wonderful and enthusiastic people?
I was gonna just tell a quick story on Caravan today. I don't know why my picture's not there, but I'm here.
There he is. The horse, the dog.
The two different realtors said they were spotted going into a complex, and they were followed by other agents because they were like, what are you doing here? What's going on? What's happening? You got something coming up? And I hear of people chasing down photographers too and calling them up, seeing where they're out taking pictures of. So
There you go. Even though I've heard that some of these listings are going so fast that they decide not to get professional photography, right? Yeah. So yeah. So if you guys are wondering why isn't there 18 photos sitting in the listing and giving me some more information about the house, I think the realtors are going in with their iPhones, right?
it is.
So the question is, can someone explain CPR as it relates to advantage or disadvantage to having this type of property? CPR. Does anyone know what that means?
It's a condo project regime. It's so from a financing perspective, I can just address that side. From a financing side, a CPR is considered a condo, so there are going to be additional rules and requirements from the condo side of things. It also might have a slightly higher interest rate just because condos are considered a slightly higher risk in comparison to like a single family home. When we're talking about differences, we're talking about maybe an eighth of a difference in interest rates. So if let's say rates are 3% on a single family, a CPR or condo of any kind would be like maybe 3.125%. So it doesn't make a huge difference, but there are some additional requirements that have to be met there. And CPRs are just a little bit challenging at times from a financing perspective because generally there's only 2 properties in a CPR in some cases. And so that also kind of creates an issue from an owner occupancy side of things, from a financing side. So those are the challenges, I guess, on a CPR from a financing side.
Somebody else? Amber, were you about to say something?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, we actually, I don't encounter a lot of CPR properties in East Hawaii. I've more seen it in West Hawaii. So West Hawaii agents might have more to speak about that.
Yes, what is that? I don't know.
Well, what I see a lot of, like you go into projects like Kamani Trees, right? Those are all CPR lots. In that area, it is all, everybody's got their own water meter. There's no shared area. There's no access to the rear property, nothing like that. It's pretty much exactly the same as being just a regular property, except for it is a CPR. And what it was used to skirt the laws back in the 80s. There was a law in the books that allowed the builders, it was minimum 10,000 square foot lots in the area where like Kamani Trees was built. And what they did is condominiumize the dirt and split it in 2 and bypass the law. So they got rid of that law in the early 2000s, so you don't see it anymore. But where you do run into problems up in Palisades, where it was mom and pop doing it, because everybody kind of found out, saw the developer doing it, and they started doing it. And in a lot of areas, they weren't allowed a second water meter in those areas. So you have a master water meter going in, and then you have a sub meter going to the back property. So for most part, our water's so inexpensive that isn't typically a problem. But in 18 years, I've seen two problems that's come up. One was when everybody was going into foreclosure, and one person wasn't paying, the master person wasn't paying the bill, and had a bunch of people living there. And so what we call the slave property was running into problems trying to keep the water on and keep that going. So that was where it was one problem could happen. Another one was where there was a break in the line somewhere, and neither one of them, they fought over who was going to pay for the $3,000 water bill that had been going down in the law. But yeah, that's the only 2 cases I can recall where it was a problem.
So when you see sometimes things for sale where the properties are really close to each other, like I know that there was one down on for sale near Royal Point Sienna, that they built 2 houses on one lot and they're trying to sell the houses apart from one another. That would be kind of what that also usually does. Is that how that goes? So if you have like basically 2 houses on one lot and they separated it. So
yeah, there's a few up there, Julie, that are CPR, and I think some of those are on shared meters as well. But those, yeah, usually if you see it on a 5,000 square foot lot, it's a CPR. They're doing the same thing.
Cool. And then Sheila says on the same question, do you own the land? And that would be yes, right? When you get that, yeah.
But there is a difference between owning the land within a CPR and owning the land on a single family in terms of how the land is owned, if I'm understanding correctly, the legal side of it. Not that it makes a huge difference, but it can. And my understanding of a CPR is that the land is owned by basically an HOA, even if it's a mini HOA, and the owners own the HOA. So yes, you own the land, but you own it collectively rather than individually, is my understanding.
Oh. Okay. So
Similar to
they
how
tell
a
you
condo building would be. Like if
So-
there was a condo building,
Mhm.
nobody in the condo owns the land that they're on. Instead, they own the unit that they own, and collectively they own the land that the building is built on. I believe the same thing holds true with a CPR because of the legal definition of what a condo is and how it works. So I think that's how it works on a CPR as well.
So like Lance, if you were in the Kamani Trees subdivision, can you scrape your house and completely build a new house? Or is that no because it's in the CPR?
So this is going to give you a great example on like what Scott just said, because that was kind of an argument at one point when I was on the board there, and what came of it was that the land is actually the unit, Scott. So you own that. That was the trouble with the law, is that land was the unit, so you owned it. And I know the house next door to me in the foreclosure, they were part of my CPR, and they were, they foreclosed on it, had no ramifications on my land or anything to do with my house. It was all separate.
Yeah, I agree with that. And to address Julie's point, you could scrape your home and rebuild it because what you own is the home. So it's not that you have any issue with building another home on the lot itself. It's just my understanding of how it all works is that just from an ownership perspective, and again, for most people, 99.9% of people, it's not going to matter, but there is a small, slightly varied legal ownership of the land on a CPR as compared to a single family.
There you go. So Sheila, I hope that answers your question. You can.
One other thing, just real quick, and I'm sorry, because we just, and Scott's right, and like up in Palisades and things like that, you could just go in there if you took one of those CPRs and just destroy the house and build whatever you wanted typically. But like he said earlier, you do have a mini, kind of association that has its rules. So you got to look at those rules. We had a home burned down in Kamani Trees, and the guy across the street scooped up the land right away because that was his exact thought. It's like, wow, I'm going to build a mega structure down here in Kamani Trees. And he bought it, and he went and submitted the plans to the HOA, and the CCNR said that he had to build the exact same home back on it. He was
equally as challenging is in a lot of these CPRs, they don't have CCNRs. And because there's only 2 people on the property and they just haven't taken the time. And so that can be just as challenging or concerning. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, do you have to ask your neighbor, for their approval to build something if you two are the ones that are in the HOA together? Right?
And from a mortgage perspective, we're going to have to get the CCNRs if somebody's going to finance a property on a CPR, finance a CPR property. So they would be required for the mortgage, so they'd have to be drawn up in order to be able to move forward. But
okay. And so Sheila says, I've seen a few CPRs for sale and I wanted to learn more. Thank you very much, people, for enlightening her on the CPRs. And then Brad said,
so Sheila, be due diligent to want to do on the buyer's end, and you will definitely want to review all those documents. And every time I've encountered a CPR, which is pretty rare, and it's always been on the west side of the island for one of my buyers, usually the listing agent has a lot of that ready to go to review before you even, make an appointment to tour the property. Hopefully they do, so that you can look over what's going on with that little, mini HOA.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of your side of the island, Amber, what's happening? I know you're up on this one, but someone put an article out about the area in Leilani Estates. The county is buying back land from the people who got their houses inundated with lava, and the whole neighborhood is deciding, like as a group, what's going on. People are still buying houses in Leilani Estates, right? There's still new places. I mean, people are buying real estate, right, in that subdivision. Yeah.
Yes, there is an active real estate market, believe it or not, still in Leilani Estates. Yes, I don't know all the details on the government programs. I've heard a little bit here and there, so I don't want to say anything incorrectly on that. But yes, people are actively buying and selling real estate there.
Yeah, and how much are the houses going for now?
I'm trying to think of the last one. Probably more than they should be. The only listing I have in Leilani is just a piece of land, and it's been on the market a really long time. But I have seen some homes. I'll have to look and see what's closing there right now. But usually it's people, they see the property online, they have no frame of reference for Leilani Estates. So from what I can tell, a lot of those properties will go under contract and then people will pull out as they kind of realize. But yes, no, things are selling. I could look up recent sales for you. They are a little bit lower than anything in Lava Zone 3 that we're seeing, but they've definitely increased from, last year before, even with the eruption. And I will say a lot of people who weren't willing to buy in riskier lava zones like Leilani Estates or Lava Zone, any neighborhood in Lava Zone 2, a lot more buyers are willing to make that concession now because they're getting priced out of, the safer lava zones.
Yeah. And people who are watching this later on YouTube, when you're thinking about buying in Hilo or not Hilo, but like, just East Hawaii, that making sure that you understand where the house is located by pulling out and looking at the space, you're going to see maybe that you're next to a lava flow. And also to make sure that, if you think it's too cheap and too good, it usually is. And that's why it's good to also work with the realtor and deciding, where the risks lie. So, okay. So James Porter says, with the upcoming lifting of the eviction moratorium, do you see any homes coming available? How long is the eviction process? Someone want to grab on that one? Lance, since you're the incoming president of the Association of Realtors, do you want to talk on that one?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and jump in on that. So they can start the progress at the beginning of August. I think it's the 6th is the date that they can start the process. And what happens for the first 30 days, it's only people that are 4 months or older or 4 months or more behind in their payments are the first people, and everybody has to go through the mediation. So the landlord has to, the tenant has to, they have 30 days to get that process going. And they are thinking that there's going to be about 10,000 people that are going to be using this service. So they're nowhere prepared for it. After on day 31 to 60 would be 3 months and older. And they, just keeps going out. So, and this thing ends December of 22. So this is going to go well into 2022 before we start seeing things. But I just started seeing a different side of it. I think that's kind of blindsiding us all. I actually reached out, I'm on the state board, and I reached out to the president. I said, nobody's addressed the fact that there's a lot of good paying tenants that have paid on time, worked through the whole pandemic and everything else. But these mom and pops that aren't realize they're not up to being landlords are sending them eviction notices right now. So they don't have to wait for this time, and they don't have to do anything. We might get hit with a whole bunch of places for sale that may be people that were good paying and are not subject to this moratorium anymore. So the interesting news is that it's against the law for them to give that notice until April 7th is a date that they can give it, and then it's 45 days from there. And then it would have to go to court from that point. But if it's been a good paying tenant, more than likely they'll leave in that 45 days. Interestingly, a client, I was told of a story last night where a lady kind of understood this, and she was a mom and pop tenant, a landlord. And two of the people said, well, get out. The third person says, I know the moratorium, I don't have to. And she said, well, that doesn't apply to you. You're paying your rent. He says, okay. So he didn't pay this month's rent. And so now he won't even get looked at for 4 to 5 months down the road before they'll even look at his case. So it's going to be a mess. It's going to be a big mess. So that's a side I don't think anybody was prepared for. The attorney, when I reached out to them, and I went out to the president of the state board and stuff, and I'm still waiting for a response from them.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So I think some people are saying, wow, that could be a whole bunch of new inventory on the market, but we don't even know. It's, it's going to cause, I think, a lot of headaches for people who actually are renters who actually live here. So yeah. Then Brad said the new law just passed. Okay, good job, Brad. Brad could be our fifth panelist. So let's see. Does anybody have any more questions on that one? Okay. I'm trying to think what other topics are we talking about lately. Obviously, there's a heck of a lot of tourists in town. We have the mayor over in Maui trying to tell the airlines please stop coming, and then Alaska went ahead and did a fare sale for 3 days to get more people to come to the islands. So if you are still thinking about coming for your own, like looking for houses, know that yes, there's a bunch of people here. We are a little chock full, and trying to find a rental if you're thinking about moving here and renting for a few months before you decide to buy something. That's also very tight right now with the rental market. Will everyone agree with me on that one too? Yeah. So I just a bunch of people say I want to move here, and they say, well, we're going to rent first. I'm like, you know what? It's I've been telling people you might have to rent an Airbnb or a VRBO for a certain amount of time to be able to land with something so you sleep while you're looking for a house, because the rental market obviously is in a little bit short supply. What else are we seeing out there in terms of helping people move here, you guys? What do they know about that so they can be prepared?
I just wanted to add real quick, you guys, I threw that eviction notice moratorium. If people want to understand it, it's in the chat box if you want to download it. Anybody that's put out, I think, by HAR. So.
Oh, good. Thank you for including that. We'll put that on the down in the liner notes too on the video. So okay. So, but is there any other like hot topic or anything? If no one else has any questions, I know I have a bunch of very busy people here out there making offers with dozens of properties that are on the market. So if no one else has any questions, okay. So what we'll do is we'll have this again next month in August, and also next week, which is Thursday, we'll hit some different mortgage topics with the Wynn and Eagan team next Thursday at 5. And Lance is going to be hopefully doing a real quick wrap up of what's happening with the market, and we'll do a short little video on him, put that out on YouTube as well. And if you guys have other questions that you want us to hit in terms of topics like that, that idea on the CPR was interesting. That would be a good video, actually. If you have other questions like that, where we can actually just do a hit and run video and then give that to you guys in the group, we can make that happen as well. So let us know. And other than that, I want to thank all of our panelists for being here today. It's crazy out there, eat your Wheaties, and thanks for being here. And we'll see you guys next month. Okay. Aloha.
Guys.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Guys, we'll see you. Aloha.